My name is Ty Nielsen. I am the Sales Director of PXMSOFT, and I have the pleasure of being your host today. And besides myself, I also supported, of course, by some good colleagues that has a lot of knowledge around the topics that they will talk about. So hopefully we're going to have a really good potential interactive session in the next hour. By meaning interactive, that also means that you have on your screen and Q&A button you can press upon. And if anything is unclear, anything wants to be, you wish to have something elaborated, or you just have a reflection that we would like to share with the other participants, please feel free to fill in the Q&A session, and then we will either try to answer it in the different presentations, maybe directly in the chat, or if needed around time-wise management, then maybe also reaching out to you after the meeting and then responding to your questions. So please feel free to chip in. That's the essence of what I'm trying to say, at least. As you also know, there will be a recording of this webinar. So if you are in need of the recording after the meeting, just reach out to me or some of my colleagues, and we'll be more than glad to send a link to you. For your own knowledge, we will also upload the meeting on our YouTube channel after a couple of days. So you can always go to our YouTube channel and find this webinar and also lots of other informal videos of PXMSOFT, and of course also Gaudi if you choose that YouTube channel. For those of you who had also participated in our Equal Pay webinar in June, I think you are in for a special treat, because this will not just be a remake of the same webinar. We have developed quite a lot of content after that time, and that has been based on dialogues with you, with other customers, our own internal development department. And that actually means that if you saw the webinar or had a meeting with me or with Jacob or with Anna previously, then you will see quite a rapid development evolved around equal pay and the value proposition that we're going to go through today. I think that that was enough around the housekeeping part. Let me just start with sharing my screen. And there you go. Yeah, I don't think it comes as any surprises, at least then it's not that good that you're going to hear a session today about equal pay. I think it is a topic that has been changed a little bit around the focus of equal pay during the last couple of months, and I'll go back to that under the first topic here. And the different topics that we're going to look at today is the regulatory context and the business impact on the EU directive. Then Anna will talk about the data part, which is been more and more obvious, so to speak, that without the proper data, no proper reporting. I think that has been a lesson that we also have had a little bit of an eye-opener upon, meaning that it's not just about making the minimum requirements, at least not in our perspective. It's also about utilizing the data in the right way. Then, of course, the real, not to offend you, Anna, but also the standardized products that we have from this topic here and the tooling. We will look upon that in a live demonstration. And then we will have some wording around road mapping and best practices. And I also think that I might want to give you a little gift at the end of the webinar. So stay tuned for that, because that can potentially make your day. A little bit about us, and us in this context is Gaudi Group. We are around 175 consultants and other people. PXMSOFT is a daughter company of Gaudi Group, so that's why we call it about us. We have been in the HR and payroll business for more than 25 years, and we have offices around 10 places in Europe and in the MEA region. We are, if not the only one, at least one of a few selected pure players within the SuccessFactors and business technology platform area. And that actually also means that so far we are at least claiming the #1 spot in that place in the Nordics, because we are only solely, completely focused on the business technology platform and SuccessFactors regarding what our talk is about today. As you might know, we also have quite a few other standard extensions in PXMSOFT, but today we will focus on the Equal Pay Transparency Directive. If you wish to hear more about our other products, or for that matter, a bespoke solution that you might need to have in the BTP and the SuccessFactors space, just reach out to us and we're more than happy to engage in dialogue. This one, a few of you might saw the last time, meaning that we have still a three-phased approach to pay transparency. I think that some of you have heard me saying that this has been a moving target developing the value proposition, and I also still think it is, but for us it's more and more clear that the understanding of the task derived for the EU directive is beginning to make a certain pressure on HR departments around the EU. We can see that the first wave of concern, so to speak, it was about stating that we wish to have a baseline so we know that when our first report has to be published, depending on your company size, we want to look pretty decent. Now also quite a lot of customers and prospects are beginning to wonder, we also have to make new workflows. We also have to make new processes in order to handle the different parameters and elements in the directive. It could be that an employee has a request of where I am compared to my peers and my colleagues in the company. So the area of concern is potentially being bigger, but on the good side, we're also hearing that a lot of companies is actually now also initiating and have some insights into, is the data correct in SuccessFactors? Are we also looking forward, not backwards, in our approach to utilizing data? So also progress in a general sense. Our today's session will also still be around these three elements, meaning that we will talk about data and SuccessFactors becoming more and more important, that they are right, they are structured right, they are addressed right, they have the right attributes and so on, more on that topic. We will look into our reporting, where we have taken quite a new approach. We have also expanded the scope of this reporting approach quite significantly. I hope you will agree upon that. And then we will look about the potential of modeling that might come in handy if some of the elements that you have to adjust also has to be done in a safe and supportive manner. So quite a lot of things moving, so still a moving target in an overall sense, but still lots of progress happening. Anna, I think that is our cue to give the word to you.
Wonderful, thanks, Tain. Hi everyone, I'm Anna Palmblom, and I work with Solution Advisory when it comes to building a job architecture. And if you go to the next slide, please, we will look into the first part of the package. And SuccessFactors is a great foundation for having what's needed to be in place for the Pay Transparency Directive to have the data needed. In the first element of the package, we will either define, or if you already have parts in place now, reshape the job architecture, having the right structure to get valid data around job and pay structures. So this means defining the elements of how you structure data to secure that you can compare pay between different categories of employees. So for many of you, it's really to fine-tune. For some, there will be some additional elements to add to build the relevant job architecture. And for some, you might have used job classifications in a way that can be optimized and really get an efficient structure that supports what is needed to be delivered when it comes to Pay Transparency Directive. It's about pay grades. It's about pay ranges for work that is the same and in the same category of employees, meaning job classifications. Be able to make use of compa ratio, good to have min, max, and mid in the pay ranges. And it's very much about inheritance from job classifications to positions, and requisitions in recruiting, and data inherited to job information for each employee. And having pay range data on your positions, that can be used in requisitions, in SuccessFactors recruiting. You would have the min and max pay to support in the recruiting process and for the candidates. What we want to achieve is, of course, to have quality data in place that supports the pay transparency and all the reporting that will be needed. Also, the employee requests that was mentioned by Tane, that the employees have the right to request and receive written information about their own pay level and the average pay levels for categories of employees performing the same or equivalent work. But all other processes that supports with data. And let's turn to the next page, actually. Yeah, thank you. What we are doing in this part, that we are setting up the job architecture, as I said, including job and pay structures, adding important elements or building blocks like job families, subfamilies, etc. Elements that are relevant if you're using, for instance, MERS or Conferry. And this information is inherited to positions, which is leveraging inheritance and reusability. We will also, in the workshops, discuss who's owning what data and role-based permission. This is ensuring that you have quality in the job architecture. We will also review pay components and getting quality in the data. So this foundation that we are building is used for being compliant with the Pay Transparency Directive, but I also need to say that it could be so much more. Each role or job classification is clearly defined, pay is fair, and even more. If you, in the future, add skills to this, you also have the foundation for building a skills-based organization using the great features of SuccessFactors Talent Intelligence Hub. Having career paths that are transparent, which is also an important brick in this. Many of you also have performance management, where you continuously evaluate performance, or at least yearly. And this performance data is also used as criteria for salary setting. So all of this empowers managers and HR, of course, having the whole picture and the data to support in their work. Let's just go to the next slide. Yeah, and this is just an example of what we do. We set the scope together, the activities that are important to you, what is needed. And let me just also mention, before we continue with the real thing here, we've been doing advisory and implementations for several years regarding this. We have both been working with local and global companies, and having the foundation in place with the global roles and job classifications and pay ranges. We also have the sort of total solution and strategy that you have in mind, where you want to go and grow in the future, like career and talent development. So not just limiting to job and pay structure, that is of course very important right now, but also having the whole picture of what a job architecture landscape can be in your company, having a roadmap that you can grow into. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Great to hear that you are also seeing this as a great opportunity to looking forward. And then, I'm planning for a roadmap with incremental gains that you can harvest along the way. Because only looking at this as a governance exercise and compliance exercise, then you will get what you are looking for, meaning that you will get a lot of additional work and no really business benefits out of this. If you're looking at it as an opportunity, it's much easier at least to have the mindset to do something that will enhance your competitive skills as an organization. Yes, enough of that. Then we are going now to the new reporting. And as I can see here as a little bit of a teaser, we early on had our reporting in Power BI. We said that was a tool which was great for multiple data service, and it still is. But we have also realized that enhancing the scope of what we are reporting upon, then we need another tool, and that has surprisingly enough brought us back to the business technology platform from our perspective at least. Because when you see the different elements in the reporting, then you also along the way potentially need to trigger a workflow that can change some elements in this. So we have gone a little bit in, at least technology-wise, in another direction and enhanced the focus of our reporting significantly. And not just to hear me brag, I will leave the word now to Anja so that she can demonstrate and put some real faith behind my wording. So over to you, Anja.
Yes. Oh, hi all. I'm Anja, and today I will guide you for the solution that we have developed so far. And I will go through all of the pages, and then if needed, then that will be followed by some comment from Jakob, Tein, or Anna as we go. So I will just still the screen. Oops. 1 second. Yes, I hope that you can see it now. So right now we are on the dashboard page. This is the welcome page, so the page that will open when you open the app. And the app can then be opened through SuccessFactors or through the link to your preference. I will quickly go through each of the cards that the dashboard covers. The first one is the mean and median, where you can when you can choose if you want to see it with including variable pay, or you can also choose between different years. It is worth mentioning that all of the charts that we have in the solution are interactive, meaning that if you hover over them, then you will see the exact data as well. Then, for example, here we can uncheck the box, including variable pay, and then you can see that the data will change. The same applies to changing the years. And basically the idea behind it is that you can see the most important data in that dashboard, but we want to give you some flexibility and make it more interactive for you to your liking. Then next one is the main one you can call, which is the gender pay gap median with mean, and the variable pay gap again with median and mean value. This is of course followed again by the next chart, which is the variable pay, which also reflects the data here with the ability to change the years of the data, which works the exact same way as the first chart. Then the next card is the mean gap across divisions. Here again, we have a little select box where we can choose between different countries, or we can always come back to the old one, which is the default. As you can see here, some of them are blue and some of them are red. And what it means here is that if it's blue, then it means that the mean pay gap is towards men, as that the gender variable is higher across men. And then the pink one means that it's across women. Then if we follow that to the next chart, it's variable pay across gender. This one shows the number of employees that receive their variable pay. And then again, we can hover over that, seeing what is the percentage of the whole variable pay across the genders. And then we also have the ability to show all employees, meaning that now we can see what is the percentage of people who don't receive it at all, who do receive it, and then that's done across the gender. And then again, we can see the percentage of that. Next one, which is also the last one on this page, is called gender distribution across pay grades, where we see each column stands for the pay grade, and then this is the percentage of the gender across that. From the percent here, we can also change the metric to be a number, which basically will show the exact same data, but instead of showing it as a percent, it will show the exact number of employees that we can find in each of the pay grades. And that's the dashboard page.
Yeah. Maybe I can add a bit, Anja. First of all, obviously adding a bit on the numbers that you see. This is demo data. It's hard work keeping these numbers clean and nice. So it's luckily not reflecting the actual scenario in Gaudi. Just to be clear, that's one thing. Another thing is that, and I hope it's a bit obvious, but obviously this is connected real time with your SuccessFactors data. And it's connected with your SuccessFactors data in a flexible manner. So what we are reporting on here is essentially the outcome of a design process with you guys. So there might be other pay grade groupings. There might be other ways that you are sort of working with the data or the data that you have in SuccessFactors, and the solution and the way it's presented is flexible enough to do that. Essentially, what we've decided from a design perspective is to build, you can say, a baseline solution, or more than a baseline solution, but a comprehensive solution, but a solution that also caters for flexibility. So from each of your organization's perspective, it might be that you need other charts or something else to go in, and that's essentially what we would like to then work with you on, making sure that the solution, once it's implemented completely in an organization, reflects your reality. But the flexibility in the design is there already. Yeah. So thanks, Anja.
Yes. So now from the dashboard page, we can access different pages on the side menu here. And I will now go to the request one. Now we are on the request page, where the page is divided into, let's call it left and right section. The left one stands for all of the requests that have been sent, which can be in 3 different states, which is open, in review, or closed. But for the purpose of today, we're only going to focus on the open one. There's also a search bar in case you want to apply more filters, but we are not going to focus on that today. Once you click on a request, this one is already clicked, but then you will be able to see the little yellow box, meaning this is the active request that you are working on right now. And that's also where you can see the title and the content of the message, along with some other important data as when it was sent on and when is it due to be sent back. Now, on the right, we have the actual building the request response. In the header, we can see, maybe let's start with this one, which is number of requests, and here it's number 1. That's because every user or the employee will be able to request or maybe to make the request every once half a year, and this is keeping a track of how many requests have this user already done. Then the rest of the header, we can see all of the necessary data of the user who has created the request. And then we also have some buttons here that we'll quickly cover, which is the resign and deny, in case you want to resign it to a different user that is supposed to reply to this request, or you can also deny it. There's also a possibility to fetch data for a different user, in case, for example, the request is done on behalf of someone. So when we open that button, it will just open the dialog with all the employees that you can choose from, in case it's for behalf of someone else, and then it will just fetch the data for that user. That's the header. We're going to close it for now so that we have a bit more space. And now we'll move on to the sections that actually made the request. The first section is what's called first section, but it basically stands for welcome message. So maybe not necessarily has to include any of the data that the request is actually asking about, but it can be a message that you want to add to the request if you wish so. Each of the sections have a little include box here, meaning that if you press it, then it will just hide it, and it will also not be part of the message that will be sent to the user later. Then we're going to come to the compile information, which is the main part of the request. We have 3 sections in that one, which is individual pay, average pay, and gender distribution. Each of them are provided with a automatically generated title and a message that then can be edited out, of course, and also a table of the data that has been fetched for that user that we also can see here. Each of the data point has a little checkbox again, where you can just check if you want to include or not, and if you don't, then it will just hide it from the request and it will not be sent to the user. The same applies for the other sections, of course. Now to the average pay and gender distribution. For these two, we actually can add charts as well that then will be also sent by the request. So if I just make a little space here. For the average pay, this is the charts that we have available. And I'm not gonna cover all of them, but let's say that I want to show this one to the user. That's the chart that is gonna be generated based on the data that we have on our right. If we want to, then we can also play a bit by the colors, where then it will choose the opposite one for the other one. Then we can add the chart, and then it will add it to the request. And then maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger so it's a bit clearer to see how the chart looks like here. The same happens for the gender distribution, but of course we have different charts available here. Here we have a bar chart with the number of employees, and the rest is basically the percentage. But it's percentage shown by a donut chart, or it will be the number of them. Let's say that I also want to add that one here. Here we can see it. And now both of them are part of the message. And the next step that I can do is that I want to preview it as a whole to see how it looks like. And that's the preview. And then, of course, if you try to not include something, then it will not be here. And you can include it back in case you change your mind. The data will not be deleted. And yes, that's me covering the page and what it has. So I think maybe Jakob and Anna can try to follow on that.
Yeah, and maybe again a few reflections on my side. One reflection is the same as we saw just before. The flexibility of the design allows for many different processes. So you can say a process related to the employees requesting the insights or requesting information on pay transparency can come in many different shapes and forms. So it might be that the request is opened via email. It might be that it's opened via ServiceNow, which we can then, or something else where we can, another ticketing system that we can engage with, or it might be that it's opened via SuccessFactors. It might also be that the employees themselves are not allowed to raise the request, but this is something that the managers might raise. So that flexibility is in the design of that. And also what we've tried to or strive to do is right now, Anja has shown you could say one design of the data that's included for the potential request output. But again, this might differ, or at least that's our experience at this point, that this actually does differ quite a bit from organization to organization. So again, the flexibility in your reality, what are the things that you would like to actually being able to report on is built in to the framework of the solution. And then again, in a dialogue with you guys, the solution will then be not developed, but configured to support your needs. So I think that's important, that this is what we're looking at here is obviously both an insights piece, because it gives you essential insight, but it's also to a very large degree a process facilitation tool. One thing is that you have data and insights that you need to report on, but there's also quite a significant orchestration of the process that is part of the equal pay that we're trying to sort of zoom in on with this functionality. Yeah, that's, I think, was my reflection on that. I don't know, Anna, if you have anything else. And again, data coming direct. The beauty of us working on SAP BTP across all our solutions, data coming from SuccessFactors, coming in real time. So this is not old data or data that's been sitting around and you don't know if the employee subgroup or employee position or whatever is still what's reflected here. It is that because it's real-time data from SuccessFactors reflecting reality as it is in SuccessFactors. Yeah. Thanks, Anja.
Yes, so that was the request page. Now we'll move to the next one, which will be the map page. In the map page, we basically have two views configured that you can use to your liking, which is either a map view or data view. And we can also choose the metric, which will be either the mean gap or median gap. For now, I will focus on the map view. So here, as we can see, we have a map with countries that are actually part of the organization. So all of the grayed out are not part of the organization, and the colorful one are. And also the color states for what is the mean gap, basically. So we can see here a legend where a threshold is set right now to be 5%, meaning once it hits 5%, it will start to become more yellow and towards red, basically. Yes, and then from this map, we have two options we can go for. It's either to choose a country from the list here, or to click on the country. Once we hover on that, then we can click on it. Right now, you can see on the right, that we have data for all countries, so just very generic. But then when we click on a country, then maybe here, yes. When we click on a country, then the data will be bind across that country, along with some charts, gender distribution, and mean pay gap across groups. This will work with whatever I click on the table or here, or maybe in the map view if I do it now. Yes. Then you can also zoom in here or choose it from the start. It's gonna do the exact same logic. From here, just to cover that, we have kind of two views, you can say. The first one is cards, which also again have the heat map color covered to see how well it's doing, but it's only gonna put countries here that require attention, meaning they pass the threshold value of 5%. Otherwise, you can see all of the countries here. As you can see, for example, Norway is here, but it doesn't come here because it doesn't require attention at the moment. And both of these navigate and will show you the information for the country. That is the map view. Yes. Should I continue or?
Yeah, and or at least I'll be sort of sound a bit like a broken record. Again, flexibility has been our aim with this solution, in the sense that right now, I mean, maybe a bit more transparent way of saying it. We only know what we know. So what instead of us trying to, let's say, kid ourselves and think that we can design from the beginning the perfect solution, what we've done is we created this very, very comprehensive baseline with the flexibility for you to sort of tap into that. So all what you're looking at here is obviously part of the application, but you're not necessarily looking at a closed box. If this looks, if there's other metrics, other points that is relevant in your organization, then the solution can cater for that from a configuration perspective. So I hope that's pretty clear that what we are basically extending the hand in terms of is, here's the solution. Part of the implementation is us aligning on what is the exact needs based on what Anna showed in the beginning with the data and the structures, but also how's the reality in your organization specifically. And then this solution will cater for that.
Yes. So this is the map page, and now we'll move to the next one, which is employees. This one, again, to keep the UI consistent, we have a left and right section where the left one stands for the list. In that case, it's a list of employee with a search bar in case you want to look for a specific one. And then the right one shows all of the information with that employee. So then again, we can try to click on one and then it will navigate us there. Here we can see all of the general information and job information, which is actually the same one as you have already seen in the request. And then if you scroll down, then we have two charts in here. One is salary development for the past 4 years, where we have the mean salary for that position. As we can see here, we have hover over that. And then we also have a line chart on top of that, where the dot stands for what was the employee salary at that point. Then the next chart that we have is a salary range. Here we have two columns, which is the expected and the actual. Expected stands for what is the expected pay range for the position that the employee is at, So the bottom and the top value of that, and the little dot stands for what is the user's salary at the moment. Then the actual is similar, but instead of being what is expected, it is what is actually happening for that position. So what is the top and the bottom range for the position that the user is at the moment. Then we also here have a extra line, which stands for the median salary for that position. And then again, there is a dot that stands for the user's salary, which is going to be on the exact same spot in both of the columns. And that's what we have in the employee section as of right now. And any comments from my colleagues? Let's move on to the next page.
Yeah, maybe the comment from me here is that that obviously this respects role-based permissions and so on. So if you don't have access to see certain employees, then obviously they won't be here, and if you don't have access to see certain data for certain employees, then they won't be here. So as Tyne also answered in the chat, the way that we see this and the way that it's to be used is it's HR or payroll or whoever has sort of broader access. It's not a self-service solution, at least has not been the intent from our side. But that again, that might look different from the individual perspective of each of you. But it's respecting the role-based permissions, and that's one comment. The other comment is that, as you might see here, but as you also have seen potentially on the other pages, all of this is exportable into PDF. Again, trying to sort of zoom into the process that you might have. You might actually want to share this with the employees. You might want to share this with the managers and then have this information floating into a performance dialogue or whatever. So different ways of working with it. The aim here is to have the solution as flexible enough to support the different scenarios that you have. Yeah.
Yes. And then something that we will just slightly cover is the last page called position page. Again, keeping the Yoga ecosystem with the map page, where we have the org view and the table view, and choosing the metric for that. And this here, that the org view is an org chart of the organization that you can then expand to see the mean gap as well as the category, let's call it, which can be company or division, business unit, and so on. Then again, as a default, we have the whole company view, but then if you click on one of them, then you will see the data for the specific one that you currently are interested in. In a table view, again, similar, we have 4 select options where you can then choose what data you want to see. Instead of seeing it as an org chart, you will see it as a table form. So for example, here I want to choose a division of commercial, and then that will already filter out the table for what is actually relevant here. And then it will just continue doing that as deep as you get into the select options. And then we can always come back and choose something else. Here again, we have that if something is of this color, like a battered yellow, then it means that it requires our attention because the pay gap is 5% or more. In this page, you can, of course, navigate, which then will bind the data across with 2 charts, which is variable pay across gender and gender distribution across pay bands. And that was the position page, shortly explained. Yes. And that was also all of the pages that I actually wanted to cover from my side.
Yeah, and maybe Anja, if you just jump to the position base page again, I think that's a good segue to what I'm about to show you. So you can say a few things. One of the things there is to say that what we're looking at right now on the short-term roadmap is to take these insights that Anja has showed you across different areas and actually start making actionable items out of them. So if you see that there's a position or maybe a job where there is a fairly large pay gap, then as we are working directly on SuccessFactors data, then we will build in the ability for you to work on that specific job object in SuccessFactors. So you can actually start working based on the insights, start executing actions. That's again one of the qualities of working on SAP BTP, that we're connected directly on the data, meaning that we can also start providing actions and providing ways for you to mitigate inequalities or mitigate whatever might be the scenario. And that's basically what I'll also take you through. How do you then, when you look at it from in a bit of longer term scenario, how do you then work with the data and potentially work with some of the inequalities or some of the structures, the misaligned structures in your organization? How do we work with that in the context of this? So what Anna, my dear Swedish colleague, started with was saying the foundation of all of this is data, it's structures that needs to be in place. What Anja has just shown you is what are then the meaningful and valuable insights that we can get from SuccessFactors, allowing you to be compliant with the pay transparency and also allowing you to run the processes. And what I'll then tap into now is the last part of the equation, and that is the planning for tomorrow, we call it. So how do we plan for the future? So maybe, Tyne, if I can ask you to share the slide again, and then I'll just take you through a sort of a bit of a context on that, and then I'll show you the last part of that equation. So, and that is you executing different scenarios again directly in SuccessFactors. So as part of our offering, we have a solution called org chart modeling. And org chart modeling, if you skip a slide, org chart modeling essentially allows you to do much more than what I'm showing you today. Today it'll be focused around pay transparency, but what it essentially allows you to do is to get comprehensive views on your organization structures. What it specifically does in relating to what we do now is you remodeling your org structures and not just seeing, but actually starting working with the data, making a future setup that is relevant, and then moving that into to SuccessFactors, and then obviously metrics, insights into the work that you're doing. So as a sort of framework or conceptual way of understanding what we're looking at now is how do you work with your data in a future setup? And that is what I'll be showing you now. And I'll do like this. And then I'll do like this. Okay, so within SuccessFactors, and as just like Anja showed you, our solutions can be embedded in different shapes or forms in SuccessFactors: home menu, action menu, tile, or whatever. So just underlining that this is embedded natively in SuccessFactors. We have an application called org chart modeling. As mentioned, org chart modeling consists of essentially three different elements. It consists of a view element. I won't be going into that today, but that's giving you a customized, tailored view of your organizations or part of your organization. So if you want to show your sales organization, if you want to show your Brazilian organization or your Danish organization, whatever, you can create these views more flexible and much more customized than you're able to do in SuccessFactors. We then have our org modeling, which I'll be focusing on today. And the org modeling is the ability to model for future scenarios, model for what if scenarios. What if we move sales into UK? What if we do this or that? So that is what I'll be focusing on today. Org modeling comes in our previous webinar we had. It came in 3 versions. It came in modeling employees, positions, and departments. What has been introduced since then is our job architecture modeling, which will reach general availability 1st of November. But that is essentially the ability to model your job architecture. So a key component relating to what Anna told you in the beginning, key component in designing structures is that you keep them updated. And one of the key structures when it comes to pay transparency is obviously jobs and positions. And the job architecture modeling, I'm quite excited about that because it's a completely new take on working with SuccessFactors data. So what I'll show you now is a quick look at the position, working with positions, and then I'll show you our new job architecture modeling. But it goes, what you'll see in the position modeling is the same logic that applies to employees and to departments. Essentially, you working with a concept that we call cards. A card is a aggregated set of data that you control. So this reflects your actual data in the organization. You decide what data you want to have shown in the cards. If you want to have more or less data shown, that is something you or the end user can work with when you work with the cards. But what we then also allow to do within the modeling scenario is to say, okay, we have a scenario where if we start with the CEO, then there's a VP level, then we start drilling down, we come down to a manager level. And on this manager level, the first thing we see is that we have two positions. These two positions are basically on the same level, but they are on different pay grades. So one scenario that where we can explore is the ability to change the pay grade for this position if we want to. So that would essentially be me going in and saying, okay, this actually needs to be on the same pay grade. Again, we're working with the structure. So here now we have a position that has changed the pay grade. What has happened in parallel with this is that a change log starts to build up. So all the changes that I do now is reflected in a change log that tells me what have I done with the changes in the change log. What I can also do when working with the data is either start modeling a new organization. So let's say I want to have a sales organization. These positions, just to sort of put in context, these are your real SuccessFactors position, live data. If a position is deleted, if a position is changed, it will be reflected here. So this is a list of your positions. I can start modeling scenarios where I say, okay, let's see what happens if I start moving in positions into a different way of working with your organization. From a pay transparency perspective, this might be less relevant. It's just saying that that functionality is also part of the equation. We might also want to say we want to move this accountant in as a position actually under our account executive. While I'm doing these changes, you'll see that all the data is every time kept updated in our change log. And you can see we can augment or we can work with the data much more freely and visualizing what we're doing and working with the data much more freely. When we're looking at this perspective from a pay transparency element, so one thing is the modeling, and we can model positions, we can model employees. So if you have a vacant position like this one, I can either take this person moving into that position, I can take an employee that is not related to a position and move him or her in, but I can also actually, if we are looking at a merger scenario, these would be imported position. Let's assume that if we bought an organization, this would then be acquired positions that I can move in. But what happens as I work with the data is that metrics is always kept updated. So across the data that we're working with, there'll be data updated showing you the actual facts of the insights that or the data that we're working with in the structure. These widgets or insights is something that's fully configured by you. So whatever you want to see and whatever you want to showcase when you do these org reviews or org changes is something that you design. Alongside that, we have our equal pay metrics, and this relates to what Anja showed us. And that provides you then the needed information to the data from a pay transparency perspective. So what we're seeing is that related to these positions, the average pay gap is this, the median pay gap is this. We can see the total salary, or we can see the distribution between men. You can actually see the base pay in this scenario, but again, this is configurable. But we also see the scenario for each of the countries. So here, for instance, UK is off, while Denmark, there's only one employee, so that looks better, and Germany, only one employee as well. But anyways, the data shows the information is shown from an equal pay perspective. So you updating your data is done via this solution, either working with the structures, moving the data, moving the positions around, or updating the data in a position. I hope this is fairly clear, and as you can potentially also see, this is me just scratching the top of the surface. There is much more you can do, but this is part of the offering. What I want to focus on is actually our job architecture modeling, because this is where you can really add value into your underlying structures for the pay transparency scenario. So what we have here is our job modeling. This is again fully configurable by you. You basically decide what is the view that I want to model our job architecture on in a given context. So let's say we want to model our pay grade levels. I choose the pay grade, or choose pay grade level, I choose job level, I choose whatever. I can also choose if I want to have, let's park that for now. I'll speak to that in a second. So by doing so, it fetches the data from SuccessFactors and tells you all your jobs where there is a pay grade level updated is then shown in this grid. So here we have the jobs divided across your job families, job functions, whatever you call it in your solution. So we can see these jobs pertain to the admin, this pertains to manager, professional, sales, etc. And then we see the jobs being distributed across different pay grades. So the scenario here being that when you sit and look at the pay grades and see that we have an accountant or marketing assistant that sits on a pay grade 6, but this should actually be a pay grade 3, I'll move the job into the pay grade 3. And what happens alongside this is that the data is updated. The change log is then updated. It'll be reflected in a green box, and the data will then show that this job, and I've moved other jobs around, but this data has been updated, and I can see the data that's been updated. So it allows me to do a very sort of detailed job architecture or job modeling scenario, which currently is not possible. This is something that you need to do in Excel or you need to do in PowerPoint, and it will be on stale data, and it will be on data that doesn't reflect reality. The scenario here is exactly the same. This is real data updated from SuccessFactors, and you can then say, okay, now we've updated our pay grade levels. Let's update our job levels, for instance. But besides just updating a job level, I also want to update other attributes on the job. It becomes a bit technical now, but there could be other data points that you want to update at the same point. By doing this, you then get a different distribution of your jobs. You can now see your jobs are distributed on your job levels, and that might actually give you an insight in saying, but this is not a supervisor. This is actually a director job. And then you move that in, update this accountant, and that means that now this accountant has been updated from a supervisor to a director. Then you export the data, send it off to your operational HR operations, which then goes in and makes the update in SuccessFactors. So it's a tool that supports structural updates, but it supports the executive, or the senior process of updating and working with your data from SuccessFactors in a visual and much more supported way. So for instance, this accountant scenario that I just worked with has now moved from a supervisor to a director. Tyne, before I spend all the time talking, I think I'll park it here and just saying this is the last part of the equation. This is one of our unique value offerings as well, the ability to work real-time data in SuccessFactors and model the scenarios for the future.
Great. Let me just take the screen back then. And then also looking at the time, starting to wrap a little bit up. We had some questions in the chat, and at least last time I checked, we have answered all of them in the chat, so thank you for that. I think that one of the main questions in the chat was asked by Vincenzo. He asked, what are your thoughts around going from the unadjusted pay gap to the adjusted pay gap? And I think that's an excellent bridge to my next slide, stating that we would love to do some co-creation with you. We would think that it was beneficial for all parties that our products will reflect the real world. So a request for some sparring partners, in the lack of a better word, where we can try to develop some general business rules that allow us to going from the unadjusted to the adjusted pay gap. So if you think that you could benefit from this, if you think that it would be valuable to share your insights and be contributing to making a product a better fit for your own organization, please reach out to us. We will be more than happy to do some co-creation. And I think that we will really value your input, of course, from a vendor perspective, but also providing you with some ideas on how to approach this in your own organization. So it will be a win-win situation for both parties. So please reach out to me, Jacob, Anna, or Anya, if you think that it could be a good idea for your organization to contribute to the further development of this project.